what's happening, everybody? How are we? Steve Mingelko, Final Web Design. Today we are going to be going over how to properly set up and create your own WordPress website, portfolio site. So I'm going to assume that everybody at this stage actually has their cPanel hosting created, which should look something similar to this. And I'm going to assume that you have a domain name set up and you've created it, so basically your website URL should be looking like this, basically no files up. So the first thing we're going to do is go to WordPress.org, and we are going to be downloading a copy of the latest version of WordPress. So if we go here, you're actually able to go to, let me just find it, Get WordPress, and you should find Download WordPress 5.501. So why don't we just download that, and you'll see it's actually downloading down here as a zip file. And what we're going to do, if you have an FTP, that is one way to do it. I have a couple other tutorials that'll walk through that technique. However, in this case, we are going to be uploading it directly through the file manager. So why don't we open up our file manager, which is this option right here, and we will go to public HTML. And oh my gosh, this version of WordPress is going to take a few minutes. So I will cut this video and get back once this has officially downloaded. So it should just take a few minutes, and I'll be right back with you. Alright, so let's keep going here. We got the download finally. We're going to go back to the file manager, and in the public HTML folder, why don't we just click upload, and we will select our new file and bring it into our WordPress 5.5.1, which is the latest version of WordPress, and we will just bring it into the cPanel file manager. So as you can see here, it's uploading, and this might take a while as well, so I'm going to fast forward this upload. And you will see that the file itself is about 14 megs. And what we're going to do after we have the files open is we'll actually unzip them on the server, because it saves a lot more time than unzipping them on the computer and push. Again, you could do it with an FTP. And actually pushing the files up manually. We're just going to open them on the server because that's much easier. Then what we'll do is go and create the database, and then after the database is set up, we can start to organize the actual WordPress website and get it set up and ready for development. So this should just finish wrapping up here in a moment, and if you want, we can go back over here to our actual website, and you'll see that it just has this one folder in it, which is actually what's there. If we go back to our cPanel upload at the end of this, we're going to see that this WordPress 5.5.1 zip is located here on our actual URL, which is basically just showing us that this file has been here, but once we unzip it, it will actually, so you see it here. Once we unzip it, we'll be able to actually utilize the WordPress installation process. So why don't we go back to our public HTML with this go back link. And as we are back in our cPanel, we will see that we have WordPress zip. So what we're going to do is actually unzip this. And again, it's easiest to do it on the server. So why don't we go to extract. Basically, extract is a cPanel way of saying opening. And what it's going to do is create a folder that will just be a WordPress 5.5, and we will actually just move those files up once it's all been opened. So as you can see here, everything's been extracted. Our internet's going a little bit slow today, which is unfortunate for making these videos. However, all the WordPress files are here. So we can delete the zip. Just go to delete or right click and go to delete, just to keep your server clean, keep your files clean. It's usually the best way to do it. We'll confirm, and as we see here now, I'm going to actually just close this because we don't need to download it anymore. We will have our WordPress here. So if we actually went to our URL and went to /WordPress, you're going to see that we will get to the WordPress installation. However, we do not want to install the WordPress in this directory. We want to install it on the actual this is my name, stevemingleco.com. This is where I'm going to be building my new portfolio website. So let's go back to the files and let's just select them all. If you go Shift, select the first file, and we can move. And then we will move it just up to the public HTML folder. And all of these files now are going to go from the WordPress folder into the actual public.html. And we should still see this WordPress folder here. Why don't we just go ahead and delete that as well? Because it is not something that we are going to be using in the rest of this project. So I'm just going to confirm that it's been deleted. And now what should happen is instead of going to the /WordPress folder, we're just going to go to the stevemingleco.com, and we will see that the WordPress installation should be showing now on our actual URL, which it is, stevemingleco.com. From here, why don't we start the WordPress installation process, and then we'll go and create the database, which is going to be used to store all the data of the website. The first thing we're going to need is English. We are in, let's see, why do I see all these? So English United States is the first one, which is where we are located and the language that we are interested in. If you have another one, they have plenty of different languages here from around the world, but I assume if you're watching this in English, you're going to be using English. So let's go to Let's Go, and this is where it's talking about the database, which I'll walk you through in a moment. So here's where we actually set up our database. Now this is actually a lot simpler than people make it. So instead of going to our file manager, we're going to go back here to our database, and we should find under databases is MySQL databases. And basically that's the database we are going to be using for the WordPress CMS. So why don't we go ahead and start that process. Now I usually like to take out just a notepad, which can help me keep my notes in regards to what the database is going to be. So I'm actually just going to pull up a real blank text document. And in this case, we will just go Mingleco database. And let's create this database. And it has created, so save this information because again, this is the information that you're going to want to use. Let me just bring this down here. We'll get some. So just maybe it's easiest if you just title it database name. And we'll put it Mingleco database. We'll go back. And we will create the user, which will be used to access this database. So why don't we just go Mingleco, we will create we'll just call it user name. And our password, we're going to make it very easy. It is just going to be final web design 123 with a capital. Then we will finish creating the password, which will be final web design 123 with a capital FWD. And why don't we pull up our notepad, which is right here. Too many pages open, sorry guys. So let's go database password. And we will go final web design 123. And remember that our username is this Mingleco username. So let's just create user. and it will say that we have successfully created. And why don't we just save this on the computer, even though in theory we really will not need that. So let me go back here, and we will call our database username. All right, guys, we're moving right along. Username. So let's go back. And the last thing we have to do is assign the username to the database. So why don't we go ahead and add that? And we will give it all privileges that we can alter, create, drop, everything we're going to need to do with the database. So let's go to make changes. And let's go back. So here we have the MySQL database, and I'm just going to go back to the cPanel because all that's created. Here's our file manager. However, in this case, we're going to our database name. So why don't we pull up that information again? MingleCo database. And let's pull that up. Let's pull that up again. It'll be MingleCo username. And the password, I do remember it, but I'm just going to copy it for simplicity's sake, and we will add it here. Now, database host, you can always use localhost for pretty much anything you're doing. That means your local server. And the table prefix, it's normally WP_, which we can just leave. That's standard for WordPress as well. And as you see here, all right, Sparky, you've made it through the part of installation. WordPress can communicate with the database, and let's run the installation. So this is basically where WordPress starts to upload the files and the system so that it's actually functioning for your specific website. We're just going to name it stevemingleco.com. Our username will be MingleCo, and our password will just again be final web design 123. I'm just going to use my personal Gmail, but if you have something business related, you could assign it here. And we'll let it go with search engines. It's not a big deal. This is just a personal project that I would reference to people who are looking for work I've done. So why don't we log in? It says success. WordPress has been successfully installed. Thank you and enjoy. So here we are at the WordPress login. We are on our URL. And we are able, I'm going to close this window in regards to the WordPress installation. We will go MingleCo, and we will go final web design 123. I'm going to click remember me. And you can use the email address as well if that was easier. In my case, it would be steve.mingleco@gmail.com. So here we are, guys, and this will take us into our next tutorial where we will kind of go over how to set up your WordPress and how to get the actual development started. Why don't we just take a real quick look at the front end of the website, which should just be the standard WordPress installation. And I believe that this is the 2020 theme. So here we are, and in the next video, we'll go into more depth on how to actually start building this website out. So we'll catch you guys in the next video.